Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at a video by the channel REWA. They're going to cover an issue that I think we're going to be seeing a lot of with the newer iPhones. And it has to do with what happens when you use a aftermarket Type-C cable to charge your iPhone. So let's get started. This video is titled, "We Find an iPhone 16 Pro Not Charging. USB-C Did It." I'll be reviewing this video without sound just for copyright issues, and I'll be explaining what I see along the way. In many ways, the Type-C charge port has definitely been an upgrade. There's a lot of different types of cables that you could use, and you can kind of get away with it, but over time, just like we used to see on older models, the charging IC is going to have a problem with using an aftermarket cable. As you can see, this phone that they're testing is not working when they try to plug it in. This could be a bad charge port. So the first thing that needs to happen is opening it up. Looks like they're protecting the camera, and they're going to look at the charge port. Now this model, you can simply connect a new charge port over top of the existing one, so you don't have to do too much work to test it. And they're going to go ahead and test it and see that there still is no charging. They're removing the motherboard. And looks like we're going into some schematics. This is the Refox software. It's pretty cool software. It allows you to get a good idea of what's going on. It also has this really cool feature where you can overlay a kind of transparent view over a microscope image, which is cool. And of course, you can see all of the layout of the motherboards with the traces, tracking down what's going on. And looks like we're going to a specific pin here. Should be reading 0.540, and it's not, which means that there's definitely an issue with the USB IC, which is located right there on the back of the motherboard. And we're adding some low melt to the metal bracket, so that's easier to remove, protecting the sensitive bits like the plastic inside the SIM tray there, and some hot air popping off the shield like we used to on the iPhone 5 and 6s. And they're removing the USB IC, and then you can go ahead and test and see if the short is gone. And in fact, they're not getting the same readout, which means that they are that is the culprit. Now, unfortunately, on these models, the USB is kind of paired to the USB charging IC, and as you can see here, we've got the two different versions of Type-C, Apple versus the regular one, and you can see the utilization of the different pins, and that's what causes the issue. So over time, with that fun animation, you're going to kill the USB IC with an aftermarket cable. And these are the two chips that need to be replaced if this is the case. The USB IC and the USB controller IC. They're kind of paired together, so you need to replace both at the same time. And they're going in with some low melt to help in the assistance of the removal of the solder, with a temperature set at 380 for the iron. And using some wick and flux, cleaning it up and adding new flux to reinstall or to install the new USB IC. Lowering the temperature to 350 with 80% airflow, I'm assuming. They're able to reconnect it, and now they're getting the correct reading, which would be 0.5 something. So they're getting the right reading now. However, you need to split the boards on this model. So at 190 Celsius for the iPhone 16 Pro, you can split the board with a board heater. And looks like they're using the assistance of some hot air to help pop the boards apart. This is obviously a complicated repair requiring a little bit of surgery, but there is the USB charging IC. And they're going to wick off the pads. It's a little awkward because of how far down it is inside of that valley there, a little canyon. And they're going to install a new USB charging IC and tapping it into place. cleaning the area, and now you have to reball the mid-frame. So you start with wicking it. You can add a low melt solder here to help in the assistance of wicking it, because that solder, it doesn't always want to come off too easily unless you have a decently sized iron and wick. Now they're going to reball it. Obviously not covering everything you need to do to reball it, but put it back on the heat plate, bring it up to temperature, and the solder paste will form into those solder balls, and it is super satisfying to watch. And then you can install the other side back on it and reinstall it inside the frame. Now, one thing I'll note, they just slapped the motherboard back in there. Obviously, they're trying to keep this video relatively short, but the display and the proximity sensor need to be connected. And you can't just put it back in there without connecting those, and it's not really practical to try to connect them to the underside of the motherboard before putting it in. So that's one thing they don't show, is you have to be really careful about damaging the display flex and proximity sensor if you want to remove the motherboard without having separated the screen from the frame first. There are ways to do it on certain models, but you just have to be mindful of that. Taking the camera protector off to close up the phone, and then they're going to go straight to testing it, and it should then work, and there it is working. I definitely see this becoming an issue with a lot of the newer models, because there are so many different types of aftermarket charging cables out there. Just like we saw with the lightning cables, people using aftermarket gas station lightning cables and it just killing the TriStars. This is definitely something that if you can learn to do, you'll be able to profit from, and it'll set you apart from maybe you and your competitors around you. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. If there's something that you'd like to see in a future video, let me know as well. If you have a video that you'd like me to review for next YouTube Tuesday, comment it down below as well. Thanks a ton for watching. We'll see you in the next video.